Good morning, everyone. My name is Melissa Bryant, and I am currently a Dean of Students here at Stanton Elementary School in Washington, D.C. In the words of my grandmother, I used to be a teacher that did a lot of trifling things. In particular, I was very, very judgmental. I actually used to judge parents and put them in a box the first time that I met them. So if Johnny was in my class and during independent reading, he's ripping up my books instead of reading, I'd call your mom. Now, if I call your mom and I can get to your mom the first time I call her, and she says, you know what, Ms. Bryant, I'm going to take his game, he's gonna be grounded, like he's gonna come back a better person, then you're a parent in box one. Like, you care about your kid, I like you, you're cool, I'm gonna do a little bit more for you than I might do for everybody else. Now, if I have to go to the emergency contacts to contact you because I don't have a working number, you can't be in box one. Because if you really cared about your kid, then I'd have a number that works for them. And so, even though you say that you're gonna, get Johnny to stop ripping up my books in class, if he still came back and he was still doing the same thing, then you're in box two, you kind of care. And then we have box three. So I actually could never get in contact with you. I've tried the emergency contacts probably like 50 times. You never pick up, and the only time I saw you was because I didn't let Johnny go on the field trip. So now you have attitude with me, and you acting like it's my fault that Johnny's ripping up the books in class. I actually don't like you now. I'm not gonna do anything for you, and I'm not gonna just go above and beyond because you obviously don't care about your kids, so if you don't care, neither do I. And that's the type of teacher I used to be.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Keisha Cox. I have two kids who are DCPS students. Growing up, I noticed that the kids who seemed to get the most out of their educational experience were the kids whose parents seemed to be most active, most involved in their kids' education. My parents were working all the time, so they weren't those type of parents. So I decided those were the type of parents, that was the type of parent I wanted to be. So I started out as a box one parent. I was the gung-ho, I was the in their face, every day after school, how's your day, what did you learn, what did you do? I was, pancake breakfast, volunteer for everything. I was there all the time. I was the type of parent I thought that all the teachers wanted to work for. So as time started to go on, the years would pass, teacher after teacher, and it just started to seem like teachers aren't caring, principals aren't caring, counselors aren't caring. Some of the teachers, granted, yes, did care, but it was just always like the worry of the next school year. Who's my child teacher gonna be this year? Are they gonna care? Are they just there for a paycheck? Those were the things that would go through my mind every school year. Is like, oh, can we please just keep the same teacher? So I gradually turned into a box three parent that Ms. Bryant was just speaking of. I was like, well, if you guys don't care, not that I don't care, but I'm just very tired now. So, I feel like I'm putting in a lot of effort and not getting anything in return or not getting much in return. And so I was now a box three parent, and that's where I was. It was kind of like, go to school and do your best, and I'm here if you need me, but I'm not the pancake breakfast chaperone volunteer any longer. And that's where I was at that time.
Now, when we got to Stanton Elementary School 6 years ago, it was the second lowest performing school in all of DCPS. It was kind of the school where you sent all the kids that weren't doing well at other schools, we'll just, kind of just send them to Stanton, because Stanton was gonna be closing anyway. And in 10 years, we were the fourth time that it had been restructured. So we didn't have good relationships with parents. Parents did not like us. They rarely said thank you. And there was a lot of distrust because they were like, well, why are we gonna listen to y'all anyway when y'all gonna be gone in like a year? Like, it doesn't make sense. And so we knew, now we weren't worried because, we go to conferences, we read teacher books, right? And they tell you all this stuff that you need to do when you want to turn around a school. So you gotta have admin with vision, teachers that have been teaching for at least 3 years. You've got to make schools safe. We changed protocols, did an extended school day, did after school. And still, after all of that, when you fast forward into the year that we deemed a hot mess, we laugh about it now, but it was the year of a hot mess. When you fast forward into April, if you've ever seen Lean on Me when Joe Clark walks into the school for the first time and all the kids are everywhere but in class, yeah, now imagine all those kids under 10. And that would still be my school after we had done all that stuff that everybody said that we needed to do. So we knew that we had to make a change, and we knew we had to do something different that we've actually never done before. And so that's when I got my very first professional development ever in family engagement. Now, I was sitting in the back, and I was the teacher. I was like, let me see. I don't even know if this is really going to work out. Because I had taught in Bed-Stuy, Harlem, North Philly. Like, I was like, I ain't never seen nobody just sit on somebody's couch, talk to you about your hopes and dreams and your expectations for kids, and then you just going to like me, right? So, but we decided to do it. Now, a third of us were quitting. We weren't coming back because it was the year of the hot mess. And the second group of us were like, yo, if we come, I need a break. So if I'm going to come back and work here again next year, then I don't want to do nothing with school for the whole summer. So there was a group of us who actually went out and we did home visits. And we did about 200 home visits that summer.
So when I first received my home visit, first of all, I'd like to just say that it was like crazy to me that teachers were even willing to do this, take time out of their day and come to my house and, you know, just talk to me and my kid and see, you know, how we're doing at home. And so it was weird, you know, for them to come to my turf or whatever, but I was excited. I was welcoming for it eventually. It was crazy though, but it was also amazing because I was like, I can't believe they're really gonna do this. So I was excited, I was like, okay. But at the same time, I was also nervous because the year before I had an altercation. My son had an altercation with the teacher. One of the teachers, he had 2 teachers that school year, and they co-taught. And one of the teachers, Mr. Davis, had an altercation with my son, and I was not nice to Mr. Davis, and neither was his father. So the 3 of us were just like really nasty to Mr. Davis. So now he's in this teacher's class, and he's coming to my home. So I'm nervous because I know, right, I need to apologize to this teacher. I need to say some nice things to this teacher so that we can, you know, get my son going in the right direction. But mind you, I'm also a Box 3 parent at this time. So when he comes, to my surprise and to my delight, you know, he started the conversation. I didn't have to start the conversation. He wanted to know how I felt about him teaching my son this year because of the altercation from the last year. So that let me know that we had the same goal. Our goal was my son's success. So, you know, them coming alone let me know, you know, that they had a goal that, you know, they wanted my son to succeed. But that too, just him opening up that way, you know, made it easier for me to open up, you know. Even though we were on my turf, we were at my house, you know, I still was like, oh no, this is not gonna work. So anyway, when they left the home visit, I just felt confident that we all had the same goal in mind and that he was gonna work for me and I was gonna work for him. So that's where we were at that time.
Now, when you go on a home visit, the last thing that you're supposed to do is invite people back to school. So when we went out that summer, we said, you know what? We're going to invite everybody back to school night. Because previously, the first 6 years that I had been teaching, back to school night was just a time for me to clean my class. No one ever really showed up. And if they did, it was like the same parents over and over and over again. So I had a lot of time. So we were like, if home visits really work, like back to school night, like if we get 50 parents, it's gonna be like, this is bomb, like we have a ride. So we put out 50 chairs in the auditorium. So then it's about 15 minutes before my principal is supposed to go up and speak, and 50 people come and they sit down. So we're like, oh, okay, like more parents were coming in. So we like started putting out all the chairs, and eventually we put out the other 100 chairs that were sitting out there. So now there's 150 people sitting down, and we were like, oh, okay. So more parents keep coming in. So now all of the staff that was sitting in the seats, they start getting up and they start moving to the perimeter of the room, because we were like, oh, okay, more people are coming in. So now it's about 2 minutes till my principal is supposed to get up, and the whole room is standing room only. When we asked parents to turn off their cell phones, and like, you know, they did everything that we asked, and all the parents seemed like real gung-ho, real happy, and real ready to go. And so that was the first time that I was like, oh my God, like this works. Like the whole school was like, basically came out to back to school night, and it's the first time that I didn't clean my class, and I haven't done it since, and I saw 90% of my parents that night.
So in the weeks following the home visit, I started to see changes. Saw changes in myself and in my son. I was gradually becoming that Box 1 parent again. I had been invited by the teachers out to boot camp, what they called it, yet another moment that these teachers were taking time out of their day, a Saturday, to give my kid extra help, any of the kids who needed extra help. But it was my kid, so that's what I was worried about. No, I'm kidding. We worry about all the kids. I'm kidding. No. But
yes.
So, I came out. I was volunteering again. Is the point? I came out to the boot camp. I was volunteering again. I actually bought something for Teacher Appreciation Day for the teachers. My son came home talking about, Mom, I don't know what happened. I'm so inspired. I was like, what? Yes, I'm keeping this kid. So, because for a while it was a little shaky. It was gonna give him away. No, I'm kidding. But it was just changes. I didn't have to be the helicopter parent that I started out being in Box One anymore, because he was now coming home sharing with me, telling me, what he learned, teaching me a few things, It was just great. It was amazing. Like, it changed my son forever. Like, to this day, this was years ago, and it has changed my son forever. To this day, he still keeps in contact with that teacher. To this day, he still has a relationship with that teacher. He calls him on Christmas, and to this day. So it's like, it changed my family dynamic, because it was not just my son that I had become a Box 3 parent with and kind of given up. It was my daughter as well. So it changed all of us. It changed my whole family dynamic, just that one home visit. I'm not saying that it would do that for everybody, but it just definitely did for my family.
So as teachers, we like to believe, when I first started off as a teacher, I believed that, I was going to go out into the world and, inspire all these people, and I was going to bestow knowledge onto everybody. And what I ended up realizing is that it was really, through this whole family engagement, it was really parents and scholars who really inspired me, right? Made me a better person, made me less judgmental of people. I used to come from a place that was very judgmental. I didn't care about people, and I had a very kind of selfish love. I picked and chose who I decided I was going to care about. But now I come from a place of unconditional love, a place of caring for everybody. And even when, because parents just not all the time do everything I ask, but it's not just a judgment call. Now it's I come from a place of questions. Oh, well, what do you need? Okay, well, how can I help you? It's not just oh, they don't care about their kid, because all parents actually care about their kids, right? Doesn't matter who they are, and they send you with the best that they have every day. So that's kind of how it changed me as a teacher. There are many other amazing stories that we're going to hear about today, so now I would like to introduce Christian Airgood, who is the president of the Flamboyant Foundation, and thank you guys so much for coming out.
We have to go back here. Thank you.
All right, so it's... Hello? Yes? What?
You need to be on.
Hello? It's on. Hello? All right, yes. Woohoo! I was about to use my teacher voice. Fortunately, I will not. Thank you, Keisha and Melissa, for sharing your experiences with us today. My name is Kristen Airgood, and I am a 1992 Corps member, and I am the founder of the Flamboyant Foundation. We work in Puerto Rico and here in Washington, D.C. We do different work in each place, and our focus here in D.C. is helping teachers like Melissa across the city engage families like Keisha across the city in ways that are authentic, in ways that build relationship, and ways that propel children's learning forward. How did we come to this work? Well, we did research and we looked at, does family engagement actually improve students' lives? We did landscape assessments locally, nationally, to see who was doing what. But the most important thing that we did as a foundation was we went out and listened to families and focus groups. We did focus groups with about 250 families to understand what their experiences were like with school. And what that did was that told us as an organization what we should be and what we shouldn't be for us. And we decided after those focus groups is that Flamboyant Foundation is not a parent-facing organization. We are an educator-facing organization. And what we feel like what we can bring to the table is we help teachers build the skills that teachers need and principals need and schools need and districts need in order to engage families in ways that are going to help children learn academically and grow socially. So that is the bulk of our work, and we do three key things. We, first and foremost, help teachers figure out how to build those authentic relationships with families, and our key strategy, as you heard about, is home visiting. Secondly, we help teachers figure out how do you sort of maximize that home visit through ongoing communications with families, right? You don't just do one home visit and whoop, got a relationship, I'm good to go. How do you keep that going? And then the third thing we do is we help teachers figure out how to partner with families academically so that families are getting the information that they need so they can be the real guides of their children's education and really deeply partner with their child's teacher. Over the years, I've come to a really basic understanding of something, and you probably already have this understanding, but I'll share it with you because it is something that's really core to us as an organization. Education is really just about people, right? Like, it is about, it's all it really is about people and the relationships between people. And we often hear about the relationships between teachers and students and teachers and teachers and teachers and principals, but I don't think we hear enough about the fundamental relationship between teachers, schools, and families, right? Because as educators, we are not experts in other people's children. Parents and families are experts in their own children. And we as educators absolutely need that expertise if we are going to be as successful as we possibly can be with kids. So that's what is so exciting about today's panel, and I cannot wait to introduce you to all of the other people who are going to come up and share their stories today. The key thing that is common about everyone up here is their fundamental belief in the power of families and in the fact that families are their children's first teachers and the power that families have power and need to activate that power in order for us to all collectively get the best for kids. So please listen with open ears, listen with open hearts, be really receptive to everything that you're going to hear today, and maybe ask yourselves questions. Use the time to reflect potentially on how you engage with families or in your work, how you work with parents of children. But I really welcome you to just open your hearts and open your minds and listen as deeply as you possibly can. I'm really eager to do that too. So without further delay, I would like to introduce you to Tim Daly, who has just launched Ed Navigator. So Tim, please come join us.
Thank you. That's me. Good morning, everybody. First of all, I want to thank Kristen and Beatrice and the folks that organized the panel today for being one of the rare occasions where we're going to talk about parents and there's actual parents here to tell their stories, which is not a small thing. It's been my privilege to tell a story about a parent, but what I'm mostly going to talk about is the nature of help. When we talk about parents and education, I think a lot of this has already been said today. Parents do the real work, and sometimes we don't acknowledge that. We, on the system side, are supposed to help parents by creating better schools and opportunities, but we do not feed these kids every day. We do not get them out of bed in the morning. We do not get them to sleep at night. We do not put clothes on their back. Our job is to help. But sometimes the things that we do, I think it's fair to question, do they really help? Are we actually making things easier for parents? Are we doing things that make sense to us that we think are making things easier that sometimes make things harder or push parents away? I want you to imagine a parent. Let's see, Erica, that's her. And she is sitting in an enrollment office in New Orleans on a brutally hot August afternoon, hot in the way that only New Orleans can be hot. And she has taken the bus there because she has a challenge. Erica has 8 kids. 6 of them are school-aged. They attend 5 different schools in New Orleans. She works at a hotel downtown cleaning rooms, and she has a very hard time managing all these different enrollment situations, all these different schools her kids are in. She has shown up that day because she would like to consolidate 2 of her elementary school age kids who are in 3rd and 4th grade into a school that their 8th grade sister already attends. This school has a seat for her kids. The school year is just starting, and she's there to get this straightened out. Classic situation where there's an enrollment system that's been created to solve just this problem. However, things are not going well. There's a couple of problems. The first problem is if she moves her kids and makes this enrollment switch, they can no longer go back to the school that they're currently enrolled in because they won't be enrolled there anymore. So they've gone from there. But they can't go to their new school yet because they're not registered at the new school. She's got to go to the new school and do the paperwork to get them registered, but she can't do that tomorrow because she has to work tomorrow. And even if she could get the hours off of work tomorrow, she can't afford to lose a couple of hours of income that she would spend going to the enrollment office. So essentially, she's in a stalemate. She has an opportunity to do something that is going to make her kids' lives better, make her life better. There's a process that's set up to do that, and she can't do it. So, for very good reasons, she is frustrated. And you can imagine that this is probably not the first frustration that Erica has experienced with this school system over time. So as she's sitting there, she's thinking, this is going to be one more frustration that I have to bear. It's going to be one more instance in which this system is unintelligible to me. Every time I try to do something in this system that I think is going to be better for my kids, I run up against one of these walls. And this is a place in New Orleans where enormous effort has been taken to make life what we would call easier for families and to provide help. Not only is there a universal enrollment system where you can apply to any school without in kind of one central mechanism where you don't have to file a separate application for each school and enter a lottery separately, just one application. They have family resource centers set up that you can walk into, which is where she is this day, where you can go in and get help with these things. They spend a lot of time on that. And yet with all of these apparatus, if that's the word, with all of these things set up, it's still not working for her at all. But on the day that Erica shows up to do this, she is not alone. She has a navigator with her that she has asked to accompany her that day. A navigator is somebody that helps parents solve problems. It's somebody that's a bit of a combination of a friend, a counselor, an advocate. And in moments like this where stuff is not going well, that is when the navigator starts doing her job. First, she calls the hotel that Erica works at and talks to the HR director. Why is she talking to the HR director? Because the hotel is actually paying for the navigator who is there with Erica. And because the hotel sponsors that help for Erica, it's no question that she can get the time off the next day to go and register the kids in the morning, which she needs to do. But secondly, she's not going to lose income when she does that because the hotel pays Erica for the hours that she spends away from work when she's spending them directly on her kids. So she will have no income loss. The second call that the navigator makes is to the school that Erica needs to register the kids at to make sure that she'll be seen first thing in the morning at 8:30, and that as soon as she completes the paperwork, which they go over together, what Erica's going to need to bring in, that the kids can go directly to class. So they can go with her to school, they can be in class that morning, and then she can leave and go to work. Second problem solved. There's a third problem. Erica bought uniforms for her kids at the school that they used to go to, and there's different uniforms at the new school. She can't afford the new uniform shirts. Also not a problem. There's a program in place to pay for uniforms when students need them. The navigator takes care of that as well. The next morning, Erica goes to school, she gets her kids registered, they go to class. That day, their 8th grade sister goes home with them from school, and then she goes to work and earns a living. The idea here is that there are so many situations like this all across the country every day where a parent is doing all the right things and running into all the wrong obstacles, and in those moments, there is not help. The nature of help is very interesting to us at Ed Navigator because we all get it all the time. Raise your hand if you go to a physician, a doctor of some sort, to get help managing your health. Raise your hand. Almost everyone in this room, right? Do you feel ashamed when you do that? When you go into a doctor's office and they take your blood pressure and do cholesterol tests on you and tell you how your health is going and say you might need to do this, you might need to mindful, are you thinking, man, I'm incompetent? I don't know how to take care of my own health. I should be on the internet reading how to take my own blood pressure, but I'm bad at that, so I have to go to a doctor and have the doctor take care of me, right? That is probably not the way that you think of that. If anyone in this room has ever bought a house, there's a good chance that you got help from a realtor to do that. And I'll bet you didn't feel ashamed to get that help. It's a really common thing. But for parents that are trying to navigate a school system, number one, there often isn't any help. And number two, there's often this sense that you are not a complete parent or you're not doing the right thing if you need it. And you all told those stories. There are box 2 and box 3 parents all over the country just waiting to become box 1 parents, which was, I think that you all told that story really well. And what we would like to figure out is, can we build partnerships with employers where they sponsor assistance, navigational assistance, for their employees with school-age kids and make a win-win? They will get happier employees who stay longer, more productive, don't call out sick all the time because their kid had a discipline problem at school and ended up getting sent home or suspended. But the employees get something which is essential. It makes their lives easier. It makes them more capable. It builds economic upward mobility for their families. In New Orleans, we have been piloting work in the hospitality sector. That is where we met Erica. And our ambition is to do this work across sectors, especially with lower wage workers who are doing things like hotel housekeeping and maintenance, but not exclusively. Because our sense is that this is not an issue where low-income parents need help, or some parents need help, or parents that didn't have a good experience with education need help. Our hypothesis and our experience have both told us that everybody needs help, that there is no shame in getting a little bit of assistance from somebody that can help you troubleshoot education, that can answer key questions, that can help you get around obstacles that have gotten in your way. I don't want to make it seem like we figured all this out, because we most certainly have not. I think we've learned a little bit and we have a lot more to learn. But what I do think is it would be amazing if within our lifetime we could find a way to give help to every single parent that wants it. Anybody who steps forward and has a question that needs somebody to sit with them, to help them think about their kids' long-term future, to help them understand what it's going to take to get there, that help should be there. There is help for so many other things in so many other facets of our lives that there's no reason that there shouldn't be help with education too. By the end of this year, we would like to be working with 1,000 families across New Orleans, mostly in the hospitality sector. We've also thought about expanding to other sectors like restaurants. And it's been fascinating that when we talk to employers, everyone told us initially that employers would never pay for this because they are bottom line folks that are trying to pay the lowest possible wages and make the biggest possible profit. And it's actually been amazing how responsive they have been. So when you hear the other stories today, which you're going to hear a bunch of other amazing stuff, keep in mind this issue of help. How do we really help instead of get in the way of parents? And how do we pull them in instead of pushing them away? And please do not forget what I started with, which is they do the real work. And if we ever forget that parents are doing the real work, we are all in this for the wrong reason. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Tim. Next, I'd like to invite to the stage Veronica Palmer and Diana Castro from RISE.
Hello, everyone. My name is Diana Castro. In Mexico, even though I only had a 6th grade education, she'll sit with me every night after dinner and help me with my homework. My mom always told me, échale ganas, which means try your hardest. She'll tell me that I have to be the first one to go to college. However, when I was 15 and came to the US, because of the language barrier, she couldn't be as involved as she was in Mexico. Now that I have kids, I understand the importance of being involved in my child's education because the example my mom set for me.
My name is Veronica Palmer. I'm the co-founder and co-CEO of RISE Colorado. Growing up, I remember my hardworking Mexican-American parents working full-time, going to school for their bachelor's degrees, and raising my brother and I. We struggled financially, but my parents worked incredibly hard to ensure my brother and I had the best educational opportunities possible. My parents always told me, you have to work twice as hard in school as your white peers because you're a Latina, and I grew up in the west side of Denver, which was a poor community. Knowing the barriers I might face in my education, my parents were very involved. They came to all my parent-teacher conferences, volunteered at my school, and were in constant contact with my teachers. Seeing my family work so hard to ensure that my brother and I got the best educational opportunities possible inspired me to want to provide families with the same knowledge, skills, and tools my family had to support my brother and I. Now, being a mother of two, I'm even more convicted about the role of families in their children's education. At Rise, we work in Aurora, Colorado, which is the most diverse school district and city in the state. We have families from over 130 countries speaking 120 different languages. Our mission is to educate, engage, and empower low-income families and families of color to rise as change agents for educational equity in our public school system. We believe families are crucial to school and student success. Through knowledge building, community organizing, and leadership development, our families will end educational inequity. Looking at our history's most successful social justice movements here in this country, they've been led by those most impacted by the inequity that exists. So women led the suffrage movement, Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta led the farm workers movement, and Martin Luther King Jr. and African Americans led the civil rights movement. So I ask, who's most impacted by educational inequity in this country? It's low-income families and families of color. Therefore, they must be the ones to lead this movement if we're ever going to truly achieve educational equity.
I am a graduate of Aurora Public Schools, and I have two children. Miranda is 5 and Sebastian is 1. In her first year of preschool at Miranda School, I attended a Rise Opportunity Gap workshop. I sat in the room with teachers who taught us about the differences in education based on race and class. This picture showing here shows the opportunity gap. With this picture, I was shocked when I saw it because I never thought that in a country like the US, there will be barriers to receiving an excellent education. I became a member of Rise because of this critical information they shared with me. They helped me realize the importance of families being involved in their children's education. The statistics like this one motivate me to get involved in Miranda's education. Thanks to Rise, I learned how to communicate with my teachers and principals in order to help Miranda be successful at school and kindergarten ready. Because I don't want her to be a statistic and one of the students who doesn't graduate from high school and college. Rise showed me that I could have a voice in my child's education.
We've encountered many mindsets that people have about our families and the work of family engagement and empowerment. People say families don't care, they're too busy, or that they don't value education. But we know differently. Our Rise families are debunking these myths every day, along with families across the country who are working to ensure that their children do receive an excellent education. Families want to be their child's #1 teacher and advocate, but they must be provided with the knowledge, skills, and tools to do so. Pictured above, you'll see our families who turn out in droves to our workshops to learn about how to overcome the opportunity gap, to be their child's #1 teacher, and how to support their learning at home. Diana and our other parent leaders are proving what's possible in family engagement and empowerment work.
Rise invited us to a coalition meeting to discuss ways we could help improve our children's education. We learned how to organize and analyze the power ladder. We chose homework as our organizing campaign because preschool is the first education a child receives. We created a plan to tag to our principals and teachers and ask them for homework resources because we think that a half day of preschool is not enough to get a children ready for kindergarten, and we wanted to help them at home. I went and talked to Miranda's teacher and asked her for homework. She shared with me that she didn't like homework, but she gave me some resources just for Miranda. However, I wanted resources for every child in Miranda's school, and I wanted to support my child's education at home. So I went and talked to the principal and asked her about my request for homework. She responded with excitement, and she told me that she will talk to the teachers and ask them about how they feel about implementing age-appropriate school-wide homework. All of the families involved in the RISE Coalition went and spoke to our teachers and school at our different school sites. Other RISE parents and I participated in the Colorado Preschool Program Advisory Council, where we discussed with school board members and school leaders district-wide why we thought homework was important for our preschoolers. There was some pushback, but that didn't stop us from continuing to pursue our homework campaign. We worked hard for many months and continued to meet and plan with one another. In the end, we won our homework campaign. And first, we got summer homework for over 700 preschoolers in Aurora. And this year, our children have received homework packets during holiday breaks. And some schools are receiving daily homework. We are still working to get homework policy in the APS Preschool Parent Handbook to ensure all children receive homework. We were featured in Chadwick, Colorado for this campaign, and our work is discussed district-wide. We are proving what is possible when families are given the opportunity, knowledge, and skills to become their #1 teacher for their kids and their advocate.
My co-founder and I are Latinas who grew up in Colorado. We've been personally impacted by the opportunity gap, but we've intentionally taken a step aside to put those most impacted at the forefront of the movement for educational equity. In October, we released a report called If Not Now about the state of academic achievement in Aurora, and our families led that work. Our families co-authored the report and provided 8 critical recommendations to the superintendent about how academic achievement could be improved. They led the press conference, all the media, and they also hosted a school board candidate forum with the 9 folks who were running for the 3 seats open in Aurora Public Schools. A lot of people said, will parents know what to say? Will they be articulate? Can they speak English well enough? And we said, just watch and see, and they did. So now we're gonna watch a clip of our families in action at the If Not Now press conference. Let's see their passion, commitment, and dedication to their families and community.
Aurora Public Schools are failing. That's the finding by a group of community leaders. 9 News education reporter Nelson Garcia takes a look at the data and how the district is responding.
My name is Supinga Fafita now.
They're a coalition of parents.
My daughter goes to preschool here in Aurora.
A coalition of local groups.
This report shows the reality that is happening at the Aurora Public Schools.
A coalition sharing a report entitled, If Not Now, Transforming Aurora Public Schools from Failing to Great.
The statistics in this report are painful and make me upset.
Only 55% of Aurora students graduate. My child only has a 1 in 10 chance of being college ready.
The report points to failing academics and claims the district is on the verge of losing its accreditation.
I have seen Aurora Public Schools diminish, and so I want to be able to change so that my children have better opportunities.
So as you can see, our families are the sleeping giants. Once they are awakened to the inequity that exists, there's nothing they won't do to ensure their children overcome the opportunity gap and receive the excellent education that they deserve.
Teachers and school leaders, I ask you that you please get us families involved in your schools so we can support our children's education. I am a normal wife, mother of 2, and have a full-time job. Even though with all of these responsibilities, I still can and want to get involved in my children's education. Families are ready. We are the stakeholders and the most impacted by the opportunity gap. We are ready to lead the movement for educational equity. Please stand alongside families as our allies and empower us to change history and our education system forever for our children.
Thank you.
It is with great pleasure that I next ask the Baltimore Education Coalition folks to come up. You'll be hearing from Shannon Coleman Siciliano, Jasmine Mumbai Perry, and parent leader Sherelle Savage. Thanks, ladies.
Good morning. My name is Sherelle Savage. I'm a parent of 3 boys at the KIPP Baltimore Charter School, and I'm also the manager of community engagement for KIPP Baltimore.
Okay. Hi, my name is Yasmin Mumby. I'm the former co-chair of the Baltimore Education Coalition, and currently I'm the national organizer for Leadership for Educational Equity.
Hi, my name is Shannon Coleman Siciliano, 2003 TFA alum and founding co-chair of the Baltimore Education Coalition.
April 2013, we won. We sat in the chamber. The school construction bill passed.
$1 billion to renovate or reconstruct Baltimore City schools.
3/4 of the entire legislature voted in bipartisan support for the single most instrumental investment in Baltimore's youth in our lifetime. But this isn't a story about the what. It's a story about the who and their leadership development. Lisa Quinones, Charmaine Ward, Timothy Bird, Cookie Nelson, Penny Walton, Amanda Richardson, Cheryl Flythe, Takir Richardson, Tanya Graham, Jackie Wardell, Erica Gonzalez, and Sherelle Savage. April 2008.
Where is Baltimore?
It's the spring of 2008. Dr. Alonso is Baltimore City's new CEO, and he goes to Annapolis, but he's alone. At that legislative session, Baltimore City was facing state cuts, but Dr. Alonso couldn't help but ask, where are the parents? Where are the advocates? Lawmakers around the state kept asking, where's Baltimore? Why is Baltimore so silent? Winter 2009.
Baltimore unites. A coalition is formed.
January 23rd, 2009, a Baltimore Sun article was printed, and it showed that Baltimore City was going to receive $35 million in state cuts. At the same time, Montgomery County, one of our state's wealthiest jurisdictions, was receiving an increase. All of us kept asking, how could that be? How did that happen? So we decided to get together. Child First, Authority, Build, the ACLU, and City Neighbors Charter School got on the phone on a Friday. By Monday, 25 organizations gathered in Baltimore City at the Child First Authority office. 25 organizations that represented schools, community organizations, and churches decided that something needed to be done. In the beginning, we reacted. We mobilized instead of organizing. Yet, we won. At the end of the session, $35 million was secured. But we knew that in order to continue to win for Baltimore City, that we needed to formalize and create a lasting coalition. We knew that we needed to organize and not mobilize. So in 2009, June of 2009, the Baltimore Education Coalition was formed. By the spring of 2010, Baltimore City was now known in Annapolis. No longer would state budgets or any legislation that dealt with Baltimore City be passed with a silent rubber stamp.
Fall 2011. Baltimore builds power. Organizing found me. I was not looking for it. In the fall of 2011, I sat in my son's school back-to-school night. There was an organizer there that worked with the school. Her name was Molly Amster. And she asked all of us one simple question. What didn't we like about our school building? I didn't like the fact that when the temperature was too hot in the building or too cold, school closed. My card is up there. We took all of these cards, gathered them from parents all around the city, and sent them to the mayor to let her know our hopes, our dreams, our desires for a city that would transform Baltimore, that would create 21st century school buildings for all of our children. A few months later, I had a one-on-one meeting with Yasmin. And in my life as a parent of 3 boys, it was the first time anyone had ever asked me the question.
So what's important to you? What keeps you up at night?
The thing that kept me up at night then, and that still keeps me up now, is my children's education.
So Savage, there's a 3-day training on the fundamentals of community organizing. You could learn a lot about the community organizing and then take it and apply it to make your child's education even better. Do you want to go to that?
Within a month of meeting Yasmin, I decided to go to 3-day training, which was a training for all the leaders in our area to learn about community organizing.
When you get there, don't be afraid to jump in. React to whatever you're learning.
Be sure to share your truth and share your story.
How many places do you get to go where someone tells you, don't be afraid? And you know what? I jumped in. I asked questions and wanted to learn more about organizing. Shortly after that, I met with one of the delegates in our city, Delegate Mary Washington, and again, the organizers told me,
remember, don't be afraid, and you jump in. You react to whatever you're learning and whatever she's saying.
Share your truth and share your story.
I thought, wow, I can do this. And you know what? I like this. I could share my story. When I left her office, I left wondering, what other parents at my school could I get to go with me? Spring 2012. Baltimore invests. Feeling confident from the meeting that I had gone to in Delegate Washington's office, I asked the organizers, do you need us to go to Annapolis every Friday? If so, yes. I am there. I wanted to go along with other parents, and the organizers worked with us and prepped us in the car.
Remember, Sherelle, you are the expert. You're just going to be speaking to just another person who you elected into office.
And no one knows more than you what your child needs in the classroom.
Going to meet with the delegates, we knew, we're ready, we got this. We prepared, and that day, I talked with delegates from the Eastern Shore of Maryland. I don't know if a delegate from the Eastern Shore ever had a parent from Baltimore in their office, ever. But you know what? That did not faze me at all. I knew that I deserved to be in their office. We went and we asked questions, and we knew that we never went into any room with any person without being prepared. All of the meetings that we went to, they never felt like a chore. Shannon, Yasmin, and the other organizers, they always guided us through every part of our preparation and the strategy. It was hard work, but I enjoyed it. The organizers allowed us to test stuff out with the strategies that we developed, so there was never a fear of messing up and failing. They just allowed us to go back and try other things until we got the result that we needed. They even taught us the financing plan that we went and talked to other delegates about, and allowed us to go back and teach other leaders at our school how the financing plan would work.
So Annapolis wanted Baltimore City to have a stake in this process to get $1 billion for school construction. Parents, community members, and schools gathered with the Baltimore Education Coalition to ensure that a 5-cent bottle tax was passed. This 5-cent tax would generate $10 million, which would be leveraged for $155 million for schools, buildings in Baltimore City. One by one, parents and community members stood in front of City Council holding a bottle and a nickel. And every time a parent or community member spoke, they dropped a nickel into that bottle. A nickel for collaborative spaces. A nickel for science labs. A nickel for drinking fountains where you can drink the water from. A nickel for air conditioning. Nickels upon nickels for better school buildings in Baltimore City, for 21st century school buildings for our children. Fall 2012 through spring 2013.
Going for the billion. After the bottle tax win under Shannon's leadership, the Baltimore Education Coalition elected Jimmy Stewart and myself to lead the next campaign for $1 billion as co-chairs. We knew that Baltimore schools needed to be fixed, but we knew we needed to do it with Baltimore and Baltimore's families. So we needed to flex our people power. We knew that we needed 3,000 teachers, parents, students, and school leaders demonstrating that power, and we did that. We knew that Baltimore's needs would not be ignored if we had 3,000 people demanding better school buildings for a better Baltimore, because we knew ultimately that led to a better Maryland.
We're going to share a brief video of the rally so you can see our people power.
BEC, we've been here before. We were here 2 years ago in the rain, 1,500 strong. We've been here before, keeping our promise to our children, keeping $100 million in our schools. We have been here every week in Annapolis, keeping our promise to our children, and you know what? We're back. 3,000 people are going to be here strong.
We deserve and we need new schools in Baltimore City. Our children are expecting it from us. We need schools to be conducive to learning. So I say to you, we need it when? Now. We need it when? Now. We need it when?
So when I say better, you say buildings. Better. Better. When I say better, you say Baltimore. Better. Better. When I say better, you say Maryland. Better. Better. Maryland. Yeah.
We will not be silent. We will not be hidden. We know that our children are worth it, and we are going to fight so that in our time we will say that the buildings that our children go into are worthy of the greatness of the kids that are injured. I told the leadership in Annapolis, when the confetti falls on Sine Die on the last day of the session, we will have a deal for Baltimore schools. Are you with me?
We kept meeting with city senators and House delegates to keep them on the same page, because school priorities was our #1 priority and it needed to remain theirs.
Annapolis became a familiar place to me. I still saw it as a place of power, but I also saw it as a place that I belonged as a leader. When you want change, you have to be willing to get in the middle of the power dynamic and get in the mix. As an added bonus, like I said earlier, it was a lot of fun.
At the same time, the city school system put out their 10-year plan for school renovation and reconstruction. And Savage brought the house down at this press conference.
In organizing, one of the things that we learned is that you have to be willing to take risks. Yasmin and the other organizers took risks on all of the parents. At the press conference, after she and I had been relating for a while, she knew that I could speak and deliver because we had built that trust with each other. I closed the press conference behind one of the most powerful pastors in our city, Bishop Douglas Miles. But I stood there and I shared my story. I shared my truth. I shared my hopes and my dreams for my 3 sons, for the kind of buildings that I wanted them to be able to learn in. I did it, and the risk that Yasmin and the other organizers took on us let us know that our view of the world had changed forever because of the impact that we could have. April 2013, we won $1 billion together. I remember sitting in the room with the other parents, organizers, and other leaders planning that 3,000-person action that you just saw. The unique thing, though, for me was that I was at the table. I was a part of shaping the strategy. It was not being done for me. It was being done with me. I remember thinking, we are going to change our city forever.
And I remember Ms. Wardell, who led our February rally. No longer would she have to worry about Danira, her daughter, going into a bathroom with no stall doors.
I thought of Mr. Bird. No longer would his son have to wear multiple layers of clothing because of the extreme fluctuation of temperature within his classroom.
And I thought of Miss Cookie Nelson, who would never have to worry about water coming into her daughter's classroom from the pipes.
When I wrote my response on that yellow card, I didn't realize it then, but I was angry. But I didn't know what to do with my anger. Learning about organizing, seeing myself as a leader in the political arena, taught me and other parents that we could do something with our anger. Malcolm X said, usually when people are sad, they don't do anything. They just cry over their condition. But when they get angry, they bring about a change. August 2023.
The future.
28 new Baltimore schools. Thank you.
And last but certainly not least, I have the great pleasure of inviting Alejandro Artigas and Ken McFarland to the stage from Springboard Collaborative.
So raise your hand if you want to follow that act. My dad is a Chilean playwright. He was taken as a political prisoner in the 70s while directing Libertad, Libertad, a play in protest of Pinochet's dictatorship. After years of torture, he was luckier than most to make it out alive when he was exiled to Paris, where he met my mother. My mom is the youngest of 12 siblings in Puerto Rico. She was the first in her family to go to college, after which she won a scholarship to attend graduate school at the Sorbonne. The two met at a theater festival in Paris, where my dad pretended he had the perfect role for my mom, and she pretended she was an actress. They formed a theater group and traveled the world performing social justice theater. My sister was born in Colombia, and I popped out in the Netherlands, before eventually we hunkered down in Puerto Rico, where my parents decided to immigrate to the US so that my sister and I could have access to better educational opportunities. Growing up in a household that was short on money, but long on ambition, taught me two things that are at the heart of Springboard. One is that a child's education involves much more than just their schooling. And two, parents' love for their children is the single greatest and most underutilized natural resource in education. After I graduated from Harvard in 2009, I moved to Philadelphia to make my best attempt at being a first-grade teacher in one of the city's most impoverished barrios. In my students, I saw myself, and in their families, I saw my own. In my first year of teaching, it took until November 28th, 83 days into the school year, for my students' reading levels to finally catch up to where they had been before the summer. These are my kids the day it happened: Karina, Maya, Sanaya, Carlos, and Travis. I asked other teachers in my school what was going on, and they all shared in this really matter-of-fact way, "That's just the summer slide." They spoke as if it were a law of nature that growing up poor, for every 2 steps forward you take during the school year, you're going to take a step back during the summer. I dug into the research and found that across low-income communities, children experience a 3-month regression in reading skills every summer. This adds up to the point that 2/3 of the achievement gap we see in high school is attributable to summer learning loss in elementary school. What the research couldn't answer for me, though, is why are these losses unique to low-income communities? Children in the suburbs have every bit as long a summer break as my students did, but they don't go backward. What's the difference? Over time, I realized that summer learning loss is symptomatic of a deeper problem. Parents in under-resourced communities have largely been left out of the process of educating their kids. Children spend 75% of their waking hours outside of the classroom, yet our nation does shockingly little to capture educational value from this time for low-income kids. Too often, we treat their families as liabilities rather than as assets. Picture a child's time as an orange. Their classroom experience represents a relatively small wedge, yet our national education conversation and resources are fixated on squeezing more and more juice from that wedge. I'm more interested in the question of how you squeeze any juice at all from the rest of the orange.
Good morning. I was a voracious reader as a child. My parents, they subscribed to the go read a book philosophy. So morning, noon, and night, we heard the same thing over and over again. Go read a book. The only issue was that we didn't have a plethora of books in the home. We had the King James Bible and a set of old world book encyclopedias in which the world was still flat. Now I exaggerate, but if I told you that the encyclopedias talked about one day a man would step on the moon, I wouldn't be exaggerating. The point is, so imagine me as a child and I discovered the library, what a magical place it was. And then they put the first library card in my hand and I lost my mind. I realized I could take as many books as I wanted home with me. And I filled up the bag and I carried it, sun, snow, all the way home. To the point where my mother said, "Stop bringing so many books home because you're going to break the bag." But somewhere on those journeys home, I made the decision, or the dream was birthed, that when I became a parent, that I would fill my home with books so that my children only needed to reach out their hands to pick up a book and to be transformed to wherever that book might take them. When we became parents, what happened to us happens to a lot of people. You have theories, right? You have this dream, but then, it's attacked by reality. So filling your home with books is great, but it won't make your child a reader, right? No more than, a parking lot attendant becomes a race car driver because he's surrounded by cars. You have to put in the work. And we learned the hard way, but this is my daughter, Makeda, she's 12 years old. So not only do we read to her, we read with her, right? So we took 2 books of whatever she wanted to read, and we would read them with her. So when she came home, she'd say, Daddy, what chapter are you on? I'm on chapter 6. I said, oh, wow, well, I'm only on chapter 3. I got some work to do. And we'd have to catch up. But she became a reader, a voracious reader, using different techniques. Now, move to my youngest son. This is my son, Marcus. He has a different set of circumstances. And as a young black male growing up in West Philadelphia, born and raised in West Philadelphia, right? All right. So he has a different set of circumstances. So this is my baby boy. I can't throw his life into chance. I know that the earlier he becomes a reader, the stronger he becomes in reading, the better his chances are. So at the end of his kindergarten year, his teacher approached me and told me about Springboard, which is a summer reading program. Now, he had a lot of other opportunities, to be honest with you. He could have went to other camps. We traveled in the summertime. But once we heard that it was about reading, we put everything else to the side and we signed on. And
I founded Springboard Collaborative to tackle America's literacy crisis at its root. Our primary offering is an intensive 5-week summer program that combines daily reading instruction for pre-K through 3rd graders, weekly workshops training parents to teach reading at home, and an incentive structure through which we award learning tools to families, from books to tablets, in proportion to their kids' reading progress. Since launch 4 years ago, we've grown from 40 families in Philly to nearly 4,000 this year that we'll have in Philadelphia, in Oakland, and starting this year right here in Washington, D.C. Last summer, Last summer, our scholars replaced what would have been a 3-month reading loss with a 3.3-month reading gain. They came back to school in September, having more than doubled their annual reading progress. In schools with fewer than 10% of parents showing up for report card conferences, our weekly training workshops for families averaged 94%. We don't do this by hiring some superstar teachers to work some kind of magic. In each of our partners, we help them get more from the people and assets they already have. In our schools, we train their existing teachers to effectively engage the families of their struggling readers in order to accomplish more together than any of them could individually. Alongside Springboard's geographic expansion, we're also growing our product line to include a school year intervention, as well as a lighter touch online offering. By training parents and teachers to collaborate, Springboard puts kids on a path that closes the reading achievement gap by 4th grade. This gives children the foundational literacy skills they need to access the rest of their education and unlock their full potential.
So with Springboard put everything for us in a proper framework. We already involved parents, but because we're not teachers, it gave us the language, it gave us the framework to move ahead. So we were already reading with him, but it provided us with, instead of we all want to help our children, we kind of feed them the words sometimes. But what it taught us to ask questions before, during, and after, right? To make predictions and to work on comprehension. Because it's not enough, as you know, as teachers, to say the words. If you don't understand, then you're at a loss. So in 5 weeks, he made about five months worth of progress. The parental involvement every day, once a week we came, but we worked hard. We worked hard, and the lessons that he learned, we set a goal, which was for him it was to achieve the tablet. For me, it was to increase his reading level by X amount. And so not only did he do that, his reading increased, he received the tablet, but more importantly, the life lesson of setting a goal, working towards it, and achieving. I mean, this is the first time I saw my son set a goal. I mean, work hard, I mean every night. Not just in the classroom, the reading at home, and then the online component of the class. And I mean, he'd get home and he would run towards either the books or to the computers. Because in his mind, he just wanted to get the tablet, all right? But it's the same thing that he can apply to any aspect of his life. So, you know, I could talk on all day, but I'll tell you right now, I believe in this program. Today is my son's 7th birthday, and we could be anywhere. But we believe in education, we believe in our son, and we believe in Springboard Collaborative. They're doing amazing work. And I know that my son and my family is better as a result. And I'm sure I didn't hit all the points that I was supposed to make, but trust me. Trust me, I believe in this thing.
So part of the advice that Beatriz, who's organized all of this, gave us was to have pictures. So I emailed Ken, and I was like, Ken, you gotta send me some pictures. And I emailed my dad, and I was like, I need pictures. And what really struck me is that they sent these two photos. That's my mom on the left, dropping me off for my first day of school 20 years ago. And that's Marcus's mom doing the very same thing last year. And if you look at their faces, in their eyes, you see the same timeless expression, filled with unconditional love, with soaring aspirations, and an unwavering commitment to their children. And it reminded me that the children we see in school don't exist in a vacuum. Their families send them every morning, and their families receive them every afternoon. These are the people that know their children best, that love them for a lifetime, and that have the most invested in their outcomes. You know, it took a long time for the education field to embrace the idea that all children can learn. It is Springboard's ambition and our charge to prove that all parents can teach. Thank you so much. And if we could just throw a quick curveball in the agenda, since Marcus is actually here with us, with his family, and it is his 7th birthday, in the spirit of family engagement, could someone turn off my microphone so that we can sing happy birthday? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Marcus. Happy birthday to you.
Can I have all of you, everybody come on, who's been part of the panel, come on up if you don't mind, please. And we're gonna grab some microphones.
How you doing? So amazing. Thank you so much.
Okay, we are getting close to our time, but we do want to make sure that you all have a few moments to ask questions. But before we jump into questions, I do want to recognize one person who we've referenced a few times, but has not been formally acknowledged. And Bea, could you please stand up so we can all give you a huge round of applause? This session would not have been possible without her leadership, so a big, huge thank you to her. Thank you. All right, now is the time for questions, and I am going to respectfully ask that you ask a question. I'm going to respectfully ask that you not make a statement, but if you really do have a burning question that you would like to ask one of our panelists, I really would love for you to do so. So hands up in the air, and we will come and, yes, go ahead in the back.
Hi, my name's Jenny Carr. I was an 08 Houston Corps member, and I'm a current stay-at-home mom and founder of a parent support group called EduPark, where I'm trying to provide support services in parks for families. So I don't have a connection with a school because my children are both not school-aged yet. And I wanted to speak to you all about any tips you had about the initial draw-in of parents, like the most effective way to bring parents to the table in an organic way that empowers them.
We'll take a few panelist answers, not everybody, just a couple.
In our school, the biggest tool that we use, and our school leadership is trained through the Industrial Areas Foundation with community organizing. So the largest tool and the most radical tool that we use is one-on-one meetings. That's how I met Yasmin, and that's how I then went back and started meeting with other parents and other leaders in our school.
At Springboard, we do home visits. We found that's been the best and quickest way to generate buy-in. And essentially during the visit, the teacher goes to the home. They talk about the goal they share with the family. They both want their child to have successful educational outcomes, and they also need one another to reach that goal, right? Teachers have an instructional skill set, but their classrooms aren't structured so that they can easily support every kid. Parents have an expertise on their own child, and they've also got access to one-on-one time. So in that way, they form a partnership where they both need each other, they both value one another, and can build some relational trust. Our experience was that the home visit is very predictive of the percentage of families that show up to the workshop.
Yeah, so structurally, the Industrial Areas Foundation, the one-on-one is called a relational meeting, and it comes out of a 70-year tradition of organizing in which people have met one-to-one relationally, and that then has, that idea has been extended to a home visit, to a classroom, in a coffee shop, but the structure of it is relationship first.
We also use one-on-one meetings, but in addition to that, within the schools that we work, we really empower the teachers to turn out families. So we talk to teachers and say, if you bring out a lot of families, that's going to help you in the classroom. By you teaching your families how to do read-alouds, sight words, math facts, that's going to make your job easier. So our teachers work very hard to turn out their parents to our workshops so that those families can help and supplement their children's learning at home. We also do, after our workshop series, we pull those lists of families who attend, and then we go into one-on-ones, and that's how we met Diana.
Next question. Do you want to, should we go to the other side of the room? Great. There are a few people over there. It is very hard for me to facilitate a Q&A from all the way up here. Yes.
Specifically to the DC schools that spoke first with their experience with the home visits, but generally to anyone who's done home visits.
Great.
How were you able to effectively communicate and contact parents? I'm assuming you contacted them prior, at least in the one experience shared, yes. You had noticed that the meeting was going to happen. So how did you go about that, especially when parents maybe didn't answer the phone or didn't have a functioning phone number? How did you make that happen?
Yep. So when we call parents. So we call all of our parents. And in the first year it was a little harder because usually parents weren't used to us coming out to their homes, and typically they might be scared that it was like CFSA or something like that. And so we went with the home visits that we had, and a lot of times it'll be word of mouth also. So when parents have good home visits and all of them live in the same neighborhood, they'll be like, girl, I just had a home visit, it was great. And then the parents that we couldn't reach were hearing it from other people. But we do start always with a phone call.
Hi, I'm Emma Thadani, I'm a 2009 Corps member, and I'm wondering, how do you see parent-teacher organizations and associations playing into this, given that they're not always super representative of their community?
So at our school, our parent organizations are a part of what Yasmin and I developed called Team Organize. So it's inclusive of parents who are a part of those organizations and structures as leaders. And then we broadened it out so that if you weren't a parent that came to the traditional parent organization meeting on a monthly basis, you could still be a part of Team Organize. And we found that the relationship is really reciprocal. Those parents end up being some of our strongest leaders when we broaden out and have to do organizing work around issues that are important to our school.
So the organization I used to work with, Child First Authority, we operated after school programming, and it was through the programming that we were able to develop relationships with parents who were not necessarily connected to the PTA. And so we built parent leadership through
those families who had students enrolled in our after-school program to develop them as leaders.
So it's both and.
And at our schools, there are no PTAs. So our families and their school leaders have actually formed their own family leadership councils where they're getting to meet with their teachers as school leaders. Deanna meets with her school leaders, talk about academic achievement data, and really talk about and give feedback on curriculum and how the school's performing. Since there was nothing, we created something with our families so they would have that voice at a decision-making table within their schools.
Great. We have time for one more question, maybe right there in the back. Thank you.
Sure. Good morning. This question is for Tim and Ed Navigator. What commitments have you seen employers make to help parents and help navigators support parents in the school system? And it's interesting because I'm a labor and employment attorney and I represent management, and I do think this is a creative idea, but I do want to know how receptive employers are and what kind of commitments are they making to Ed Navigator to help parents out.
Our employers have done a couple of things. One of them, shut this on. One of the things that they do is they let us meet with the employees in the hotel during the workday, so families don't have to go somewhere else, go to a meeting or show up somewhere to get help. The second thing is they pay them for all the time that they spend with us, so they don't have to clock out and then come to a meeting and be off the clock for a while and then go back on it. Another thing that they have done is they allow us to arrange the schedule. So we're able to, if a parent has a conference or has a meeting about special education or something important that needs to get done, if we tell them they need Tuesday of next week off, they have done it 100% of the time. I'm trying to think of other things. I mean, in general, we have been amazed at the level of investment, and basically all they want to know is that it's making a difference. And as long as we ask the parents each time we are going to share a story or an accomplishment, because it's their, if they want to share it with the employer, great. If they want to keep it to themselves, fine. But as long as they allow us to share it, we found that not just their managers of the hotel or the general managers of the hotels, but even the ownership groups have become deeply invested in seeing the families make progress.
Great. I know we could continue talking about this forever, and the panelists will all be up here if you have additional questions and you'd like to come and ask them. But as we wrap up, I want to just give one last closing thought. Believing that families are crucial is not an option, right? They love kids. They are their children's teachers. It's about them. It is truly not about us. We get them for a second in their lives, right? It is about us being humble and us recognizing families are the people who are most important in their children's lives. And that is, I hope, the one message that you're living with today, the power of families and the opportunity that families have for us as partners, that we have for them and partners. So thank you all very much for coming. It was a great, please give a huge hand to all of our panelists.